Hello Collins Cobras, this is Mrs. Hernandez from LC62 and today I'll be hosting your video over the coordinate plane. The coordinate plane is formed by a vertical number line and a horizontal number line. The horizontal number line is called our x-axis. And our vertical number line is called our y-axis. The number lines meet at the origin. And they form four quadrants. So where the two number lines intersect is our origin, and that represents point 0, 0. As you can see, where the number lines intersect creates four quadrants, and we label them starting at the top right and moving around in a C formation. So this is quadrant 1. And we do label them with Roman numerals. This is quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Within the quadrants, we can tell if where a number is going to fall based on whether the coordinates are positive or negative. So for example, in quadrant 1, we are to the right of 0, so our x coordinates are going to be positive, and we're above 0 on the y-axis, so our y coordinates are going to be positive. So if you have a positive number as a set of coordinates, it's going to fall into quadrant 1. Over here for quadrant 2, we're to the left of 0 on the x-axis, so our x values are going to be negative, but we're still above 0 on the y-axis, so our y coordinates are going to be positive. Down here at quadrant 3, we are to the left of 0 on the x-axis, so our x coordinate is going to be negative. And we're below 0 on the y-axis, so our y coordinate is also going to be negative. And then for quadrant 4, we're to the right of 0 on the x-axis, so our x coordinates are going to be positive. And we are below 0 on the y-axis, so our y coordinate is going to be negative. For our set of coordinates, they are always listed as x first and then y. The x coordinate will tell you where to move on the x-axis, and that will be either left or right. Because our x-axis is horizontal, you'll move left or right. The y coordinate tells you where to move on the y-axis, and because the y-axis is vertical, you'll move up or down, depending on if it's a positive number or negative number. And here's our reminder that x is always listed first, y is always listed second. So how do we use the coordinate plane to graph a set of coordinates? We have some steps to follow. We always start at the origin. Step 2 is to use the x coordinate to move along the x-axis. either left or right. If it is a negative coordinate, you'll move left. If it's a positive coordinate, you'll move right. Then you'll use the y coordinate to move along the y-axis, either up if it's positive or down if it's negative. Then you'll find the point where the two meet and plot the point there. So let's do an example. We've got -3 and 5, and remember, x is always listed first, y is always listed second. We want to start at the origin. According to our x-coordinate, we're going to move 3 units in the negative direction, which would be left. Our y-coordinate is +5, so we're going to move 5 units in the positive direction on the y-axis, which would be up. So here's our origin. Starting at the origin, we want to move to the left 3 places and up 5 places. So this would be point -3, 5. Let's take a look at some examples that include rational numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to find each of these points on this coordinate plane. We're going to label them with their letters, and we're going to label the quadrant that each point falls into. So for point A, starting at the origin, I want to move to the left on the x-axis because my x-coordinate is negative. One of the things that you need to do when you're plotting points is look at how the number lines are labeled. So, for example, on this number line, where we go from 0 to 1, and it's split up into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. So that means that this is 1/4, 2/4 or 1/2, 3/4, and then 4/4. Or as a decimal, this would be 25/100, 0.5, 0.75, and then 1. Okay, so for point A, we said we're going to move to the left because our x-coordinate is negative. So we want to move to the left -1, -2, and then -2.25. For the y-coordinate, because it's positive, we want to move up. So here's -2.25, and then we want to move up 3 on the y-axis. So this is point A. Next, we want to label the quadrant for each point, and this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. So point A fell into quadrant 2. For point B, our x-coordinate is positive, so we're going to move to the right on the x-axis. So starting at the origin, we want to go to +1.75. So here's +1, 1.25, 1.5, and 1.75. Our y-coordinate is negative, so we want to move down on the y-axis, and this is -0.25. So this is point B, and point B fell into quadrant 4. For point C, again starting at the origin, we want to move to the right on the x-axis because our x-coordinate is positive. So here's +1, +1 and 1/4, 1 and 2/4, 1 and 3/4. and then our y coordinate is negative, so we want to move down on the y-axis to -2. And this is point C, which fell into quadrant 4. For point D, we've got a negative coordinate for the x-axis, so starting at the origin, we're going to move to the left, -1/4, 2/4, -3/4. And then our y-coordinate is also negative, so we want to move down on the y-axis, so -1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So here is point D, and that fell into quadrant 3. For point E, we're going to stay at 0 on the x-axis. That means we're going to stay at the origin, and we're not going to move left and we're not going to move right. Our y-coordinate is +2, so then we're going to go up to 2 on the y-axis, and this is point E. Point E does not fall into a quadrant, it's on the y-axis. For point F, we're going to start at the origin and move to the right because our x-coordinate is positive. So we're going to go to +1, 2, and then +1 and 1/4. Our y-coordinate is 0, so we're not going to move up or down on the y-axis. So this is point F. And it is also not in a quadrant, it is on the x-axis. For point G, we have a negative coordinate for x, so we're going to start at the origin and move to the left. So here's -1, and -1.5 would be halfway between -1 and -2. For our y-coordinate, we have +2, so we're going to move up on the y-axis, and this is point G. That fell into quadrant 2. And our last set of coordinates is +3, so we're going to go to the right on the x-axis, and -1.5, so down on the y-axis. So starting at the origin to +3, and then down to -1.5. So here's point H, which fell into quadrant 4. Okay, don't forget to do the practice page after this, and have a great day.